Hey everyone, so welcome to my House of Sky and Breath vlog. I do want to mention this is going to be a vlog through and through, and by that I mean every clip of this is like theories and current reading. I mean, the first two big chunks of this video are me kind of recapping things because I kept forgetting to vlog, so I'm sorry about that. I really did try to shorten this and I took a lot out, but everything that I've left I think is pretty necessary to just my experience reading it. So this is like a true experience of it. I'm not going to have a recap at the end. I'm not going to have a spoiler-free section. This is spoilers for House of Sky and Breath. I'm sorry it's over an hour long. Again, I really did try to shorten it. This is as short as it got. It was like 3 hours before. Yeah, so let's go right in. So I just realized I haven't been vlogging. Hey everyone, it's me. And I started House of Sky and Breath 3 days ago. It's February 17th, and I started this February 15th, you know, when it came out. I forgot to vlog, and I wanted to vlog, so we're gonna do a quick little recap. And I think the reason that I forgot to vlog is because I actually haven't gotten my physical copy in the mail yet. The tour edition, which by the way, the tour edition was obviously for her tour, and her tour little like live show thing was on Tuesday at 6 p.m. and I missed it. I'm pretty sad about it, I'm not gonna lie, but it's fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's fine. Anyways, that night I realized that neither of my copies were gonna come soon and I wanted it now. So I downloaded the ebook version to like my little books library. So I've been reading it on my phone and on my iPad, mostly on my iPad actually. And I'm loving it. Like I'm loving the book, but I'm loving reading on my iPad. I don't do this very often. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna recap everything I've highlighted, because this is actually my favorite thing about being able to read on my iPad, is seeing everything I've highlighted. This is your warning. If you haven't read House of Sky and Breath, this is gonna be spoiler filled. Also, if you haven't read House of Earth and Blood, like, unless you really don't care and you just wanna be spoiled, you should not be here. You should not be here, let me tell you. I have a vlog for when I read House of Earth and Blood, which by the way, I love that this started with a prologue. I thought it was so interesting and I didn't know where in like the timeline it was, and it's present, so I like that. And I like that that's actually kind of like the mystery surrounding this. I love that so far House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath are kind of both surrounding like very mystery subjects. I don't know, I think it's cool. Bryce, her parents come to visit her and they're both just kind of like, you know, they're wanting to make sure she's okay. She hasn't told them everything of what happened in the last book, but they're her parents, they can tell. I basically highlighted the line that says it wasn't that she was trying to hide what she'd endured. She had talked to her mom and dad about it a few times, but it always resulted in Ember crying or ranting about the veneer who'd locked out so many innocents and the weight of all her mother's emotions on top of all of hers. It was easier, Bryce had realized, to not bring it up, to let herself talk it out with Hunt or sweat it out in Madame Kyra's dance classes twice a week. Baby steps toward being ready for actual talk therapy. And actually the reason that I highlighted that was because that's something that I've dealt with in the past, where I think that this isn't supposed to be therapy session. Sorry if that's boring. Once again, this is one of those moments where Sarah J Maas is writing my mental processes perfectly. Besides Nesta, Bryce is definitely the character I've related to the most in Sarah J Maas's books, so I'll not bore you with all the other details of all like the things that I highlighted just because they're related to me. But the start of this one was actually just kind of sad and interesting because you can see Bryce and Hunt like wanting like a normal life and neither of them really believing that they're gonna get it and being so scared that everything's gonna be ruined in the blink of an eye. I think it's crazy that they made a deal. I was ready. I got into this book and I was ready for them to be going at it like bunnies. No, here we find out that actually there's gonna be so much sexual tension, which actually I kind of love. They made a deal that they're gonna just be friends. Like they're gonna have like all like the emotional friendship stuff. They're gonna still live together but in separate rooms until the winter solstice, which I love that like the winter solstice is always such like a big part in her books. It's fun to me. A lot of the beginning was just kind of a typical kind of slow start for Sarah J Maas. It was a lot of emotional kind of like feelings about what happened in the previous book and a lot of like quietness, because it's like the calm before the storm. We know there's a storm coming because we find out that that prologue actually is going to have a lot to do with this book, because Sophie is a thunderbird, and thunderbirds are this really cool concept, this veneer that is able to suck like electricity and first light out of a grid and use it. And it's a being that was hunted down to extinction, hunted down by the Asteria, by the archangels, so that they were extinct. And so no one even knew that there was one that had mated with anyone else and had bred children. And the beginning was Sophie, this Thunderbird, this really badass veneer human that can pass kind of as a human and as a veneer, working for the rebels and trying to get her brother out of this death camp. And her brother is this 13-year-old that's been in there for 3 years, and his Thunderbird powers make hers look like a drop of water compared to the ocean. Like, she wanted him, not because of his powers, though, obviously. She wants him because he's her brother, and she wants to see him, and she is kind of like conning the rebels into helping her get them out, and like using knowledge and information that she has on the Asteria, because there's something that she has on the Asteria that she's not talking about. And I'm so curious. I love that right now in the beginning of this book, we're having this whole idea that their history that they've been taught and that was written down is not the true history. That is like the one solid point in this beginning that I've held on to. The Asteria are just like this unimaginable power. Like, the archangels in general are supposed to be like born from a star. They're literally like a star. They're a supernova, which is kind of interesting when you think about the fact that her power is starlight. Like, isn't she technically a star? Is her power going to be kind of similar to the archangels?
Asteria, not archangels.
Or are the archangels lying? Like, are they not really stars? I don't know. Either way, there's this concept, one of the 7 princes of hell tell her, the one that turns into a cat, and he's saying like, well, history is written by the victors. I mean, he didn't say that, but like, history is written by the victors. They get to write down whatever they want. That is always common knowledge. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so much in our own history that's probably not as it happened, you know? And I love that that's being brought into this. I think that this is the book that Sarah J. Maas is able to make the most parallels with real life, because it has so many similar aspects to a normal world. Like, it's a fantasy book. There's still powers in it, but obviously because they use First Light as an energy source and they use it to power their technology, and they have technology and there's all this stuff going on with it, that she's able to make the most comparisons to our reality. I kind of got off on a tangent there, didn't I? Either way, everyone wants these Thunderbirds, and the merman dude is the one that kind of goes to Bryce with the information, because he sees that at one point 3 years ago, Sophie and Danica had contact, and he wants to know if she knew anything about it. And Bryce, obviously being Bryce and having this like hero complex, desperate to find this little boy, not to use him for his powers or anything, but because he's running away from the rebels and he's running away from the Asteria, and he needs someone to protect him because he's 13 and his sister potentially is dead, because we saw her go down with lead weights into the water in the very first prologue. But apparently maybe she's not there, because obviously when the merman went looking, the lead blocks were there and the chains were intact, but there was no person, so maybe she is alive. Either way, potentially Emil, the little brother, is alone out in the world, and Bryce wants to find him to protect him because, I don't know, she has like a really strong motherly instinct. We're just learning a lot. Like, I think that there's a lot of world building in these books. I think that it's the one thing that really separates like the Crescent City series from her other series. There's so much to cover that I don't even want to try and cover it all, so let's just like go back to my notes. This battery's also gonna die, so. Oh, Ethan, like Connor's younger brother, Ethan, injured, kicked out of the pack because he was defending Bryce and having nowhere to go, and being in her like house and her forgiving him like completely. It makes so much sense. I mean, Connor was the one that she's felt so much guilt over, and Ethan gave her hell for it. I'm really loving seeing Ethan realize how wrong he'd been. He already knew it. Like, we kind of got that idea in the last book, but he's realizing to the extent with which he was wrong. Like, I mean, him finding out that Bryce killed Micah because Micah confessed to killing Danica and the pack of devils. Like, that was a big moment for him. Danica showed up to be her anchor in the last book and gave her like living essence to that. Obviously the pack of devils has forgiven Bryce, and so he shouldn't hold a grudge, and I thought that was like lovely. The fun part with this too is the fact that like it's Bryce and just a whole bunch of dudes. That's really like it. There's no girls really. We need girls. That's the one thing I'm missing right now. And like, is it just me or does everyone kind of love her? Because now she has a fiance, which he seemed like such a dick until I found out he was part of the rebels, and he was actually Sophie's like mans, and he loves Sophie and he wants her to be alive, and he has such a cool backstory in general now. I like him. I didn't like him at first though. But anyways, she has her fiance. She has Hunt, who's in love with her. We keep getting these hints that Ethan actually might be in love with her, which is so weird. I don't even know how that's gonna go down. Like, always knew it would never go anywhere because Connor thought that she was his mate, which that broke my heart. That broke my heart. I liked the whole like detail though after that about how mate is used differently in all these different like breeds of people, that sounds really weird. But anyways, like the wolves, they see mate as like a mating bond, like genetic. Same with the fae. And the archangels, or sorry, the angels all have an idea of a mate, but they're not really like a mate. Like a mate is really just a fancy word for a husband. Like a mating ceremony is just a wedding. I'm probably at a different angle. My battery died because I've been talking so long. But anyways, higher up on that page is literally the whole like mate thing that I was just explaining. So I guess I'm kind of on track. The conversation between Ethan and Bryce about the whole like Connor thought that Bryce was his mate. And Ethan, he goes, "Did you love him?" And she goes, "You know I did." And I really like this line. It just says, "We waste so much time. Maybe it's our curse as immortals to see time as a luxury, a never-ending ocean." He loosed a long breath. I wasted a lot of it. And I also find Ethan's like storyline very intriguing because he was this like professional or soon to be professional sunball player, and the world seems to know him, and the world wants to know why he quit. And they treat him kind of like a celebrity. There's this like ongoing thread where Bryce, Hunt, Ethan, but they're all treated very gross. I mean, they're treated like celebrities, and I think that like seeing it in their perspective, these like regular people that really feel regular, and having like to go undercover, to go and get coffee, have people always staring at them, to feel like they are always on watch. There's a lot of really smart things that are said in here about that. Oh my gosh. Ethan telling Hunt, oh my gosh. Because Hunt obviously has a lot of like anger towards Ethan because he was mean to her for a while, and he goes, "Connor was in love with her for those 5 years, you know." The wolf headed over to the couch and plopped onto the cushions. 5 years, and by the end of it, he'd only managed to get her to agree to go on a date with him. You're at month 5, bro. Good luck. Damn, the cockiness, but also Bryce has commitment issues. Males will always try to control the females who scare them. Marriage and breeding are their go-to methods. I thought that was a cool line from Jessica. Oh, Sahar's like Triari, joining the Triari in town. Also the new Archangel. I think she's a good person. I actually have a theory that, so I should probably tell you where I'm at in the book. I'm on page, I don't know, like 180. I'm definitely like in it. I think that she's actually the person that the rebels are communicating with, and to like find out that she was actually like best friends with Hunt's old lover, and like how she had always been trying to get Hunt out and had saved up the money and they just kept refusing her. Like Hunt needed to know that someone was fighting for him, and I think that that was a really good moment too. But yeah, when they get there, and then obviously Hunt fights Pollux. Pollux sucks, and Bryce has to go pick him up, and she's in her cute little outfit, and Pollux is trying to shame her. He's like, "I thought your kind only came out at night." She's like, "Sex work is respectable, not my fault you came from an outdated world." And I'm just like, yes, good for you. I just love it, because like at the end of the day, that's like really the only insults you ever see. Men and women being demeaning in a way that is like calling girls sluts and like whores, and all those like bad words are all about being sexually expressive. So stupid to me. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and when I read that line I was like, yes, exactly. Like why is that the only insult people can ever come up with? Why aren't you ever insulting someone's mind or someone's personality, someone's anything, like besides just being like, "Oh, you're a slut." Oh no. Also, I think Baxian is actually going to be a good person. Like he's part of that Triari that's joining that was bad, and we're finding out that like the Hind, which is the person that threw Sophie into the water in the beginning, she is terrible, and she's like Pollux's like other half. Like they're exactly the same. Bad. And Baxian never liked it, but he just pretended to so that he wasn't like, you know, thrown into a prison cell like Hunt. Wait, no, Sahar was his lady, Sandriel is the evil one, right? Yeah, Sandriel's the evil one. So Sandriel's Triari is the one that is there now. And then, like, we get this, like, bomb dropped on us that Adis, you know, pops up in his little cat form, adorable, and he's talking in his cat form, which I also think is adorable. But he's just, like, telling it like it is. He's saying how he had been there, and that the Starborn legacy that they thought they knew is not true. And Bryce has the true Starborn Queen's powers. Like, she has her powers. I don't understand it, but either way. And then Rune has the other Starborn prince that in history had been decorated magnificently, but in reality, he actually like murdered his way to the throne, and then he raped Helena to have the children, and that's Rune's powers, which is not great. But Rune is just like, people need to stop being mean to Rune. And then Adis is saying like she needs to train because there's a war coming whether they want it to or not. And we're used to Sarah J Maas characters being like, I'll give my life for the war. I believe in the greater good. But really Bryce, like, she'll give her life for a lot of things, but she doesn't really, she wants to live. Like, she wants to live with Hunt. And that's how her and Hunt are. Like, they're kind of selfish in that way, but I think that's a very normal way to be. And all these people are like, you have to be in a war. And she's like, I kind of just want to like, not like, yes, I would rather people lived and I would rather like people had better lives, but like, I want to be alive at the end of it. You know, like, I'm not going to do this if I don't want to be, if I'm not going to be alive at the end, which is so weird to see because her characters normally are the opposite, but it's like realistic. You know, I think a lot of people aren't always willing to die for the greater good. It's not a trait that every person will have. Oh yeah, this is kind of like a good line that encompasses that. But it's Rune talking to her. He goes, you're a power player now, Bryce, whether you like it or not, and trust me, I get it. It sucks to want to be normal, but to have all this other shit that keeps you from being that way. And this is kind of where I'm saying, like, she's drawing a parallel between having a platform and Bryce in general right now. That's how I saw it, at least. But he says, but you're Starborn and you have the horn and you have a lot of power thanks to the drop. The Bryce before this spring might have searched for a meal with few repercussions, but the Bryce who exists now, any move you make will be politicized, analyzed, viewed as an act of aggression or rebellion or outright war, no matter what you say. Like, for me, I felt like that had a huge double meaning because I think like it was definitely something that I realized where it was no longer like something just fun. Like, yes, you can have fun on it, but you now have a responsibility to also do more with it than maybe what you originally would have wanted to or had planned to. And everything you do will be scrutinized. Like, everything will be looked at under a lens, and you don't think that you're ever going to really do anything wrong, but then you realize that so many things can be perceived in different ways. And I feel like especially this is how Sarah J Maas wrote this scene, because she goes under fire a lot. I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. It's not my place, but at the end of the day, like, Sarah J Maas is constantly being canceled for one reason or another. What you meant does not matter. How it was perceived is what matters. And like, that's a lesson that keeps like playing out in this story and just celebrity in general. Like, there's a scene, wait, let me get to it. But there's a scene where Ethan is on a murder scene, like there to help. And one of the detectives goes up to him, he's like, why'd you quit? And Ethan's like, I had other stuff to do. You know, he's like, you could have gone pro. Why'd you quit? Like, what's going on? And it's like, you're at a freaking murder scene, dude. Someone was murdered. He's here to help. He's here to use his senses to try and see what's going on. And you're sitting here grilling him about why he didn't go pro. You need a reality check. You need a reality check. These people think that like they know these like people. Like, there's even a moment where Hunt goes, oh, I've been yelling at this dude on a screen and now I'm in person with him. Yeah, you were yelling at them. You thought you knew them. You knew this person that was on a screen that you only saw a very small percentage of their life of, and now you think that you know them. They have maybe no idea who you are, and you're going up to them, talking to them like they owe you something. I don't know. That's so entitled. That is so entitled to believe that like because someone is amazing at something that you have any right to ask them to do it. Like, I don't know. That was weird. Also, finding out that Pippa, the rebel leader, is like a bad guy too is so interesting, because you're seeing like the worst of both sides. You're seeing the worst of the archangels and you're seeing the worst of the rebels, and like there's so many in the middle, but like the worst is always what like you'll think of when you think of these people. And with Pippa, like she'll kill any Veneer. She'll kill Veneer children. She'll kill Veneer for fun. Veneer that never did anything, because like the rebels believe that Veneer are the evil. When in reality, no, you're fighting someone that potentially has nothing to do with anything. Like, you're fighting amongst yourselves so that the people that are actually higher up and making all these decisions never see any consequences. I also love that finally Bryce was like, you know what, if there's gonna be a war, I don't wanna wait until winter solstice. That's stupid. Let's not do that. And they start making out the alley. It was so hot. And then he stops her because he's like, anyone could be looking, and then your engagement, your faux engagement will be exposed. Like, ah! And then we have another sexy scene of Bryce and Hunt that night where Hunt is like, she's sleeping in my room. And wow, that was intense. And I thought it was hilarious that Ethan is like, because after that, they're really quiet, but obviously it's a wolf. And he says, please have sex a little louder. I didn't hear everything that time. And then they're about to like continue, and Hunt is like, I'm gonna fuck you senseless. They don't end up continuing, obviously, because then Ethan goes, that sounds medically dangerous. And like, I can't help but think of it from the perspective that like he still has a crush on Bryce, you know? Like, that must be so awkward. Like, if he really has a crush on Bryce, like he's hearing her like hooking up. Oh, so the last scene that I really read was with the Reapers. So she's going with Rune to like go train with Cormac, and the Reapers take Rune and they go down to the sewer, and Bryce follows them, and the Reapers are telling her like, you need to train because the real Prince of Hell, like the one that's like in charge of everything, like he wants to fight you and you need to be good enough to fight. So get good, which is so weird because I thought that he was creating these armies to fight against the Asteri. I don't know. We're getting mixed information. But then the Reapers like threaten to kill Rune. This whole time I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, Star Sword. They don't want to touch it because it's burning them. Like, is she gonna burn if like they touch her? And then they don't want her to use her star powers, and then Cormac comes in to like the rescue. He has like winnowing, but they're not calling it winnowing. They're calling it like a wormhole teleportation situation, which makes sense. She finally gets a hold of the Star Sword because he gives it to her, and she stabs a Reaper and it dies, which isn't supposed to happen. Like, Reapers are supposed to be immortal. And first of all, this is Midgard. Their world is considered Midgard, which is like in Norse mythology, Midgard was Earth, right? And there's like the 7 realms that like layer on top of each other. I'm thinking of Thor. I'm gonna be honest. I need to do more research on Norse mythology. But either way, like there's this concept that there's things from other worlds dropping in always. They all come from other worlds. The Star Sword is not from their world. They don't know what it's made from. And it's able to kill Reapers. Like, something from a different world is able to kill Reapers. Something that calls to her power. Like, where is she from? What is she? Are we gonna actually get like a crazy crossover? Like, are we gonna get an insane crossover? Like, I got chills thinking about it. Like, is there gonna be like a Throne of Glass, Court of Thorns and Roses, House of Earth and Blood combination? I'm thinking like A Sweet Life of Zack and Cody mashed up with like Hannah Montana and was it That's So Raven? I think it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was crazy. Anyways, the Autumn King tells Rune that it's from a fallen star, a meteorite that like they don't know anything of. I also thought it was interesting because it seems like their solar system is like our solar system. Like, they have 7 planets around a sun, you know? I don't know. He finally says why he married her off to Cormac, and he says power attracts power. It's her fate to be tied to a powerful male to match her own strength. I would rather not learn what comes of her union with the Umbra Mortis. What does that mean? Ooh, I'm about to run out of batteries, but like that's it. From here, it's gonna be a regular vlog. Sorry, this was like a whole information dump. This is gonna be really annoying to edit.
It actually really wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. It was actually kind of funny. I forgot I knew half of that stuff because I took such a long break in between when I first started reading it and when I finished it.
Maybe I'll become more of an ebook reader, guys. I guess now that we're done with that, we'll do like a real reading clip, right? I think actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's always a level of selfishness in her characters. I guess not so much in Feyre, but in a lot of her others. Like, Selena has a lot of selfishness. Nesta for sure does. Bryce, definitely.
Someone is that you shall not pass.
Bye, bye, bye. You were so good, T'Challa. Did you just stay under there? Oh, where'd you go? I am the worst person to go to like a door-to-door kind of sales pitch thing because I never know how to not talk, you know? Like, I feel bad. Anyways, T'Challa's missing now. I don't think he went outside because I was like blocking the door, but I'm gonna go look for him, so. Ollie, you right there? You're a bitches boy. I just want you to say hello really quick to the camera. Cute. I'm feeling distracted. I'm gonna try reading in a minute.
Oh yeah, because Celestina's gonna be mating with Ephraim, and Ephraim is the one that has like the hind and the harpy. So what makes an archangel different than an angel? And Ephraim left his normal triari back in Panjera, and he only brought Sandriel's triari with him. He's sus. He's so sus. You know, this is interesting because he's wondering if Celestina even likes men. And I kind of wondered the same thing, because when she was talking about Sahar, it sounded more like lovers. Like, it sounded very much like, yes, they're best friends, but also it sounds like they've been in love with each other. And I'm kind of curious about that, because obviously Sahar was with Hunt. Oh, actually, this is something I wanted to talk about. The fate of the dead. This is kind of crazy to me. Like, in general, it's been crazy to me that, like, the dead just, like, live on an island in this world. Like, they know where their dead souls are. Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, I mean, it makes sense in a way, because it reminds me of, like, the underworld, like, with Hades. But it's different, because there's, like, 6 different ones, and, you know, it's literally across the street. You can go. I don't know. It seems weird. And we find out when she goes to visit the Under King or something like that, that's not the case at all. The people that make it to the Bone Quarter make it so that they can then have their first light fed back into the gate. They disappear after that. Their second light goes back into the system. And this is so weird to me, because we were talking about how electricity is like first light and everything, but like it seems almost like this world has been created to make these beings to then use them for their first light. Like, I don't know, it seems like a cattle kind of situation, you know? Like they're being bred to just die for their resources. I don't know, it's crazy. I think it's interesting how much Rune thinks Bryce reminds him of his dad. Okay, I'm doing a quick update. I haven't read anything well, no, I read a page today. But I came over to my mom's house during my lunch break, and I got a package, and it's relevant. I swear it's relevant to this vlog. So, oh, look at her. Look at her. I might have missed the actual live show because I ended up missing it, Mommy. Did I tell you that? You remember how I left early?
Yeah.
I forgot and I missed it. The tour edition still came in because obviously I bought it. This is kind of prettier than the original tour edition. I like this shade of blue more than that shade of red, so that's probably why. But look how pretty. It just says House of Sky and Breath. It has a snake and it says light it up. I love this. This is so cool. This came in before my Waterstones edition came in, which is expected. Waterstones kind of takes a minute to get to me. But yeah, so that's it. That was this update. Okay, thanks, bye. I'm looking a mess. We're on the ground. This is for good reason. Luna's on the ground. So, I've been reading, which is why obviously I'm making an update to this vlog, which hasn't had an update in a while. I just really didn't want to pick back up House of Sky and Breath until like I was ready for House of Sky and Breath, since I think my last update for this was where Chala was still alive. But I've been reading the past couple of days, and there's a lot to talk about. So I kept waiting for like a lull in the story, but I think we're just getting to that point where there isn't a lull. So, oh my god, Luna's being very cute. I don't know if I can do the update from down here. Luna, you're so cute though. I don't even know when the last time we talked is. So we didn't talk about how she kind of messed up her friendship with Juniper. I don't think we have anyways. And that kind of sucks. It's a very like small tidbit in the story, but I do think like it's a moment where, you know, Bryce has to realize that she can't just like be cutting in now that she has this newfound power. I do think that like Juniper maybe like overreacted a little bit. But who's to say, you know, like she kind of almost technically ruined her career in a way. So like, is it an overreaction? Probably not. We're gonna go from when they go to meet up with the rebels. So Cormac like invites them to meet up with Pippa in whatever, because they have the new tech suit that they want Hunt to look at, because apparently electricity gives you tech powers. Yeah, like I don't see that connection, but I'll let it slide because it is kind of cool. Like I see the connection in some ways, but like it's a bit of a reach, you know? I do like that like that was kind of a moment where they stood their ground, because what Pippa is doing is just like the extremities of rebellion. Like granted, the way that the Veneer have treated humans for so long kind of calls for a level of extremity. But you fight fire with fire and you won't have anything to inherit, you know? So they blow up everything at the rebel base when they're running away because, yeah, Pippa was about to kill them, like literally murder them. Cormac was like, no, I got this. It was an accident. Gets shot. Dumbass. Of course, it can't just be Pippa running after them. Of course, the Hind was on their tail too. And she sees them all. She sees all of them. Like, and she's
pursuing them, and they're quite literally also about to die by her hand in the middle of the ocean. When Therion was like, if we all get in the water, I can protect us, they jump into the water. Bryce is like gearing up to like blind everyone in her path. Her light calls Ocean Queen's fleet because they were told by their prophet, which I think is a really interesting moment. I love the whole like prophecy thing. Like I like that this is almost like a Greek modern world in a way. I was really lost actually. I got a little bit confused because I thought that they were like not gonna die by the Hind's name. Like I thought they'd somehow ended up on her ship, but no, they were in an airlock for like an underground octopus submarine, which is really cool. Like that sounds really cool. And it's powered by the Ocean Queen's power. So it's not even using first light. Like it kind of like is drawing the idea that first light is being used because the Asteri need it to be used, you know? But at the same time, like first light gives energy and power to those who can't make it for themselves because beings in power can't always be trusted to be fair. I don't know. I'm thinking too deeply about that because that's not what this is about. What this is about is they end up in the Ocean Queen's lair. Hunt's still going all frazzled, mated alpha dude. And Bryce is like, can I take him back to that garden that we saw? And they're like, yeah. And they clear out the garden because they're like, they need privacy. And they finally bang. They finally bang. It was cheesy. It was cheesy, right? Like, I don't know. I appreciated it, but it was like a cheesy smut scene. There's a scene where like they're talking about how he's doing it, you know, with her, and they're like moving across the moss with every thrust. And I was like, was that necessary? And then that's when we find out that like his electricity crackling into her causes her to teleport. And I guess that's the key. She like literally goes running to Rune, her Hunt trailing behind her, very obviously just having done the deed and wearing like scuba gear because they accidentally teleported into the airlock, which I thought was hilarious. Them being like, what the hell just happened? And then that's when Cormac was like, oh, okay, so you are like a conduit, like you need energy to be able to transform it into teleporting, since that's what she's been trying to do this whole time. There's been like multiple smut scenes since then. Oh, I also did think it was interesting that Therion's talking to like the commander of this city ship, the Depth Charger, and he's basically telling her like, can't trust the Ocean Queen, that the Ocean Queen will eventually screw her over. And she's like, I'm sorry that you've had that experience with your queen. And he thinks she's so naive to think that like the Ocean Queen really just wants peace, because she doesn't want the Asterian power, but she doesn't want to take the power for herself. She wants peace. And he thinks that that's like so naive of her to believe of the Ocean Queen. And I think it's sad because it is kind of one of those moments where I think that it's genuine. The Ocean Queen doesn't have the same intentions as the River Queen. He's very jaded. In the same time, Ethan stole the Mystics rings, the ones that had the fire sprites in them, or so we thought, because when he takes them over to Flynn and the boys and they crack them open to find 3 fire sprites and 1 dragon, which I think is so cool. I like dragons in humanoid forms, and the dragon is the one that had been going like haywire inside of her ring, and they decide like we have to find a way to keep them because there's no way that we can just return them to the Mystic, which is good because the whole slavery thing in this book is very icky. And like I think that like this book is showing that even though there can be so many advancements in certain ways, there are still so many rules that are binding everyone because of the Asteri. And then we have the whole thing where Bryce finally admits to Hunt that she actually had found Emil, that she had managed to like contact Emil to go to the Viper Queen's nest. And I kind of find it interesting how much the Viper Queen is used in these books, because like she seems like she shouldn't be, but she's also like a power player that everyone respects. This is also when we find out that Bryce is very much aware of the fact that Emil doesn't have powers, that Sophie, which we actually did find she was dead, and I thought that was very surprising and sad. I didn't like that. I was holding out hope that she was alive. Emil had always been a regular boy without a Thunderbird gift. The Thunderbird gift had always been Sophie's, but she had to trick the rebels into thinking he was going to be important. And she forged documents and contacted through postcards to her mom and her stepdad, and he's now her adopted brother, which I think it's just really sweet. We also find out that since Bryce has been throwing around her name as Princess Bryce Danan, we'll say Danan, that the Autumn King can now legally claim her as his. And he's already had the documents signed up. Her name is legally changed. She is legally owned by the Autumn King, which is like a very disappointing part for her because now he can literally do whatever he technically wants with her, and it's frustrating. And he's still like, oh, and you're engaged to Cormac. She's like, I'm literally mated to Hunt, because after they banged, their scents like fully merged in the way that the Fays do, and like Rune thought that was a little bit weird. I thought that they weren't gonna actually end up being mates and they were just saying it this whole time. There's just been so much that's been happening. Hypaxia is playing a really big role now, and I really do like that because I think Bryce needed someone. You know, she talks to Hypaxia about like what happened with her father, and Hypaxia is like there for her, and then they get attacked by like those like hellhound things, and Ethan almost dies. Bryce freaks out, she like freezes, Hypaxia's like, get up, and I'm like, thank God someone kept their head. And they win because of course, and that's that, because now we have the Asteres, or the Archangels, so Celestina and Ephraim's mating ceremony on the autumnal equinox. Try saying that 10 times fast. This is also when Rune had agreed with Day to meet up at midnight at a fountain because like they low-key have feelings for each other. I had thought up until this point that she was definitely going to be Celestina. Day was going to be Celestina. And we find out a lot in this party, because first Bryce, escorted by Cormac, goes straight up to Celestina and Ephraim and are like, hey, I'm so glad that you're mated, and this is my mate, Prince Hunt Athalar. And her dad's not going to create a scene, so he just lets it slide. It's giving Selena. You know, like Bryce in a lot of ways reminds me of Selena with her scheming, and then Bryce and Hunt wanna get it going, and they try to go into a locked closet, and when they break in, they see Celestina with her shirt off, but the person that is with her is not who they expected, because it's Hypaxia, which is so exciting because I know that Celestina had a lover and I knew that Hypaxia had a lover, but I didn't know. But I like this one so much more. I love her and Celestina being together, and Celestina kind of like freaking out and about to like murder everyone, and Bryce being the one that calms things down with her very blasé human speech, just being like, I've never been in a situation like this, but just know I'm not gonna tell anyone. Rune tries to meet up with Day, and he thought that Harpy was Day for a minute, but like she wasn't. The Harpy and the Hind were waiting for something like this to happen. The Hind's been keeping it secret because I think she knows that they're involved with rebels and they want to catch a bigger fish. It seems like a stretch. I feel like she would have just merged with them, but whatever. He doesn't meet Day, but like then they meet up in their heads at the end of the night, and like they have a hot makeout session. Really don't know who this person is now. Like I had so many theories and all of them were broken within that one party, which is why I spent so long talking about it. And also the dragon was supposed to be guarding Hypaxia and ran away, and I love how everyone handled that, because I thought it was going to be like everyone's pissed at the dragon, and Hypaxia had been like, why would she ever come back? Like she didn't judge the dragon for running. What was I saying? And now we're at a scene where Underking comes. They got away from him. He told them that Connor and the pack of devils would all be turned into second light if they don't meet him at this Erd sanctuary. There's so many hints of the other books. Like I don't want to talk too much about it in this video because I don't know the people that are watching this, but I feel like they're really starting to merge, and I really think that this is going to be the playground. Like this series is going to be the playground where somehow everyone's going to meet each other, and I'm very okay with that. I still need closure for a lot of things in Throne of Glass, and they're talking about the Erd, which I'm pretty sure was in Throne of Glass. I also think that I remember it being in A Court of Thorns and Roses. So yeah, and I know that I don't want to talk too much about it, and there's not that much left with this. I'm on 395 of 465 in this format. Maybe I'm going to take a minute and I'll think of my theories and then we can talk more. I don't know how much of this I would have had to cut out because this is a 22-minute conversation. I didn't think that I would have an update again so soon, but the Underking sold them out to Pippa, which I mean, I guess I kind of saw coming because when Therion just was at the Viper Queen's den because he heard that there was a dragon there, and yes, that is where Ari went, but she's buying out her freedom, which is admirable. Like the Viper Queen has some weird morals and I'm into it. She kind of gave him a hint about that, about Pippa and potentially like all his friends, and he's getting like a bad feeling, and we flash to them talking to the Underking, and the Underking like low-key being not bad. I mean, he literally was talking about the Erd and how like that was the goddess that like Fae used to worship before they worshipped Luna. That is a good like extension. I also liked the little like tidbit of him like scenting the smoke off the bones that are on the altar, since that is how the Greeks believed that like their offerings went up to the gods, you know, with smoke. He's basically giving them information that they kind of already know, because they're like, I didn't send the Reapers, but apparently neither did Apollyon, which they already knew because he talked to Bryce in her sleep about how the Starborn princess, the Starborn queen, the Starborn everything that they didn't know about, was actually in love with a prince of hell. I believe it 100%. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think that like this hell versus the upper world thing is actually flipped on its head. Like it's not as bad as it seems. That's when they realized that Pippa Spestos is marching into the courtyard. And I was like, why the hell are the Underking and Pippa besties? Like, why are they in cahoots? I don't know. So we're just gonna read for a minute. The explanation for him working with Pippa is war means death, death means souls, and more second light. Who am I to turn away from a feeding trough? Commander Spestos' first act upon arriving in Crescent City was to kneel before me. We made a deal that is in both of our best interests. I am kind of confused, like before the whole second light and first light thing came to be, apparently they just like used to go into an afterlife, like a peaceful afterlife. Like how did this all start then? Is it the Asteri? Like are they at fault for it? Like they're supposed to be the power of a supernova, right? Or of a star. I don't believe it. It just leads me to believe that the Asteri aren't as powerful as they are, that they've been kind of like tricking everyone into believing that they are, and that they need everyone to actually be the power that they are. But if that's true, then why would anyone like working in a bone quarter, thanks Luna, why would anyone working in a bone quarter work for the Asteri? Isn't hell against them? Luna's doing something, so I'm gonna let you go. It's the same day. But I did do my makeup and I put a sweater on because I was cold. But we have to talk because I think there's a chance I might be finishing this today and I have a lot of thoughts. Finally figuring out that Baxian is on their side because he was Danica's mate. First of all, like what the fuck? Second of all, that's the only like explanation that I would have probably been okay with and like believed. I mean, I thought that he was on their side the whole time. I don't know, I just got good vibes, but it is like just one other thing that Bryce just didn't know about Danica, which sucks, but it's also nice because now we finally have someone that was with Danica that like knew a lot of what she was planning, like someone that Danica could talk to because like she couldn't talk to Bryce about this kind of stuff. Bryce was in a different headspace and world, but like Baxian wasn't. We're finally getting truth of what Danica had been thinking all those years ago. The idea that like she could have hidden her scent in any way because she's a hellhound, like okay, fair, but like how did he hide his scent? Why wasn't Danica's scent mixed in with him? Like you can't convince me that death would just break that. Therion finally telling the river princess, I guess, that like he actually wanted to break off the engagement. I feel like first of all, this happened really fast and I was kind of getting confused because like it happened slightly at the autumnal equinox mating ceremony where he like decided to sleep with that leopard shifter and finally actually telling her because, oh, wait, right. So he's breaking it off because they're about to go in to the Asteri's like archives because they found out that that's the numbers on Sophie's arm because that's what Baxian was like, hey, I know those. I said them to Danica, who then said it to Sophie, and then they see the footage of Sophie going in and coming out and looking very pale. So I think that whatever it is that happens in the end that everyone's so shocked about is obviously in the archives, like finding out where their origin is. And I have a feeling it has to do with one of her other books. But like, I don't know. Oh, you've just been being lied to this whole time. I feel like that alone wouldn't just leave you like pale-faced, like Sandriel was also, or Shahar, one of the twins, the evil one, went in there and also was very pale when she walked out. Are they a feeding ground for a greater being and then like they're just finding that out? Like, is each planet made just to make enough second light to create another Asteri? Because that would be kind of interesting.
Do you want avocado toast?
I would love an avocado toast. So everyone's trying to like, you know, have their moments, say their goodbyes. This is fun because now we get to see all of those things happening, like Therion breaking off his engagement, which I thought the princess would be way more chill about it, but she's literally like, I've just been waiting for you to love me. And I thought that was a little weird, but then she got like all mad and was like, let's see what my mom has to say about this. And then Therion had to run off to the Viper Queen, which I knew there was a bigger reason for him having gone to the Viper Queen's lair in the first place. Like it was setting up the path for him to do what he just did, which is go to the Viper Queen and be like, please let me be a slave to you. And she's like, you aren't a slave to begin with, so you can't just be a slave for me if you're not a slave to begin with. And he's like, I'm selling me to you. Either way, he ends up drinking her blood, and then he has like a weird mind control thing happening where like now the River Queen won't look for him, but also the Viper Queen has like eternal control. He doesn't seem to think his plans through very well because apparently the only reason he was engaged to the river princess is because he wanted to sleep with her, and he said, yeah, I'll get engaged with you so he can sleep with her, because he thought in his head that the next day he'd find a way to break out of it, which obviously didn't happen because this is 10 years later. And then just with the Viper Queen, that was also what was going through his head. He's like, I'll find a way to break out of this. And then it's like a mind control thing. Yeah, you're not breaking out of it. Then Ethan asks Apaxia to take him to the Prime because, you know, he's not allowed on his own. And the Prime has Sabine next to him because Sabine, God, she's like always in everyone else's business, isn't she? Like he tries to tell them like, hey, there's a mystic that's a wolf and she's an alpha wolf. And like it doesn't sit right with me. Like, what are you supposed to do? And Sabine is sitting there being a bitch because that's what she does. And she's like, well, that's not our problem. There's plenty of alphas in the world, blah, 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 blah. Storms out. Ethan storms out, and then right as he's about to leave, the Prime like comes like to the door, like gasping for air, even though it was like a couple feet, but he's old, so. And he's just like, this wolf, she's an alpha, you said, right? What does she look like? And he's like, I don't know, like brown hair, pale skin. He's like, I just described like anyone, you know? And then he goes, was her scent like embers and snow, I think.
Wait, because I just caught something in my edits of this vlog. Embers and snow. Guys, my people who have also read all of Sarah J. Maas's other books, what does Embers and Snow remind you of? Because I know exactly what it's reminding me of. Is Danica related to... There needs to be a whole other theories video, not this one.
Ethan was like, yeah, and the Prime was like, that's the other heir to the Fendir line, because there isn't just one heir, and that's literally what apparently Danica was trying to find before she died, because she knew she was gonna die, which was just like messed up. Ethan just realized that he might have gotten that mystic in a lot of danger because Sabine was there and Sabine probably knew. So he's gonna stay. He's not gonna go off to the archives, which is intense. I don't know. I feel like they might be mates. I don't know. Mates happen so much in Sarah J. Maas's books that at this point, that's just all I look for. I just look for whatever our main characters that we're following mates because like it's gonna probably happen. So I'm feeling that that's his. And for all of this time, Rune is talking to Agent Daybreak in his mind and just being like, so like, are you ever gonna show yourself to me? And she's like, no, we can never do this again. And he's like, but we made out. And she was like, we can't ever do this again. You're distracting me. And then they bang in their minds, which I was kind of nervous about because whoever's waking her up is obviously like her dude. So would like the mental banging with her and Rune, because I'm pretty sure that's Rune's mate because of the way that they were describing it, obviously, would that change her scent in real life or would that not change her scent because it was all mental? I don't know, you decide for yourself. Either way, at the very end of that conversation, Daybreak like freaks out because she's being woken up. I thought she was just getting woken up, you know? And then basically Rune had been like, oh, we're gonna see you. And she was like, you can't come here, I can't protect you. And he was like, I'm doing it. And then that's when she's getting woken up by her mans or whatever. And she says something along the lines of like, no, you can't, the dungeons. And she's freaking out. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, so maybe she's just trying to give him a hint. But no, I guess somehow that was actually her being captured and taken to the dungeons. Like, how did she get figured out? Like, was it that her set changed and that's how they knew? I feel like that's not it though. So like, I just don't get how Rune took it to the next level because he immediately goes over to Bryson Hunt and he's like, we have to go ASAP and also we have to save my girl. And they're like, your girl? I thought she was just a spy. And he's like, we've been dating. And they're like, no, you've been banging. And then Hunt's like, yeah, she's probably not dead yet. And I'm like, okay, everyone's jumping the gun. Did I miss something? Because like, all that happened was her getting woken up and like how did her identity get spilled? Like, I don't get it. I really don't. He's like, either way, she's probably not dead yet because the Hind is still here and they're gonna use the Hind to get information out of her. She's probably in the dungeons. So yeah, obviously they're gonna go save her. At this point, there's two things that are probably like the big reveal at the end. One of them being like where they come from, where they are, what's in that archival room. Or it's gonna be whoever Rune's been talking to this entire time. Or I guess it could be both. I don't know, there's just a lot happening. But I just feel like it can't be that big. Like, what's the worst that can happen? What, like you find out that you're basically cattle for an Asteri? Like, that's my best theory. I think that that would be kind of fun, but who knows? We're just reading. Adam made me an avocado toast. Babe, it matches my sweatshirt. I don't know, the last book had a really crazy ending too though. Like that was wild. So like they both died, didn't they? Like in some capacity, but then they were fine. See, I don't know. Sarah J. Maas, maybe you should like start actually killing your characters. That way when they die, I'm not like sitting there expecting them to just come back to life. Also, maybe don't though, because I am very attached to the characters. I have mixed feelings about this. I did think though that this whole scene, like right before that talk, is a little bit sad because it's really just Bryce looking at a picture of her and like all her friends from a few years ago saying like, I thought we were so happy here. I'll read it. We were really happy that night, she said, and Hunt approached to study the photo of her, Danica, Juniper, and Fury, all grinning in the White Raven nightclub, drunk and high and gorgeous. I thought we were really happy at least, but when that photo was taken, Fury was still doing what she does, Juniper was quietly in love with her, and Danica had a mate, had all these secrets, and I was stupid and drunk and convinced we'd party until we were dust, and now I'm here. Now she's taking that photo with her, which is just kind of sad, you know? Things changed. I feel like at this point I should almost just leave the camera on because I'm having so many thoughts. Right now Rune is talking to Cormac, and just this part right here, him saying, for a glimmer Rune could see the male his cousin might yet become, serious, yes, but fair, someone who understood the cost of life, a good king. He's gonna die, isn't he? He's gonna die, isn't he? You know when I said like seriously kill off characters, I feel like because of that, there is a possibility that Cormac and Therion may die. But also Therion might not, because I'm kind of curious to see, like, I feel like there's more to what the Viper Queen did. I don't know. And oh, look at this. Tell me this is not like prepping him to die. It says, when all this shit is done, Rune said hoarsely, I want us to start over. Us? You and me, prince to prince, future king to future king. Screw the past and screw that shit with the Star Sword. Screw our fathers. We'll carve our own paths. Cormac smiled almost sadly. It'd be an honor. He's gonna die. I don't know if I mentioned it. I mean, I wrote it down, but like, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier that I have a theory that Therion might lose his like self, because they kept mentioning that he really needed to go underwater like throughout this book, and I just had like a weird inkling that he's probably gonna lose himself because of that, and now more so. I have like 30 pages left apparently until the epilogue, so there's a lot happening. She just went into the archive. I'm right. I have to be right. Regionalist power level 65%. The Asteri fed on first light. The Asteri needed first light. She looked at her feet where light flowed in veins through the crystal before funneling into the pipes, the quartz, a conduit of power exactly like the gates in Crescent City. They built their entire palace out of it to fuel and harness the first light that poured in. All the drops people made, the second light the dead handed over, all the power of the people of Midgard, the power the people gave them, it was gobbled up by the Asteri and used against its citizens to control them. I'm so freaking good. I'm good at this. Did the Asteri even possess holy stars in their chests, or was it first light stolen from the people? These doors that say like dawn, midnight, midday, and that she just entered into dusk, does that mean that Agent Daybreak, like day, you know? Okay, I don't know. Oh shit, Mordock. Ooh, Cormac went rogue. What? Cormac hadn't just gone rogue. He'd never intended to get out of here alive. I mean, he lost his girl. The door marked dusk had been left unlocked. It's a trap! Runthar conquered AE 14,000. Little supply. Terminated AE 14,007. Lost? These are some conquerors. What? They did not see the old enemy who offered a hand through space and time. I just keep thinking of the line in Throne of Glass, and it's the first one, so it's not a spoiler, but there's a line that says, oh, time's rift. So they were lured onto this planet, which we kind of guessed in some ways. Ew. Was there a home planet, some original world the Asteri had come from, bled so dry that they'd need to go hunting in the wilds of space? To my pals that have read Kingdom of Ash, right? Wait. Hell, Lost AE 17,001. A dark, cold world with mighty creatures of night. They saw through our lures, once warring factions, the royal armies of hell united and marched against us. Learned how to slip between the cracks in realms from our captured lieutenants. I knew hell wasn't bad in this book. I guessed this so well, it's stupid. This empire, this world, it was just one massive buffet for the 6 beings ruling it. This is reminding me of something else. I think that's why I guessed it. Wait. Hell had tried to save them for 15,000 years. First light tasted off. Terminated world. Okay. Denizens launched bombs at us that left planet and inhabitants too full of radiation to be viable food. Why do I feel like that would be Earth? Why do children prove hardy? This is really gross. You left such a noble audio mail to your friend Juniper. Bryce! What? Our people who built fearsome warriors in that world to be their army. Wait, like, I actually was theorizing this, and this is exciting. in that world to be their army, all of them prototypes for the angels in this one. All of them traitors to their creators, joining the Fae to overthrow my brothers and sisters. The access points in their world. This is merging with a theory that I had in another book. I don't want to spoil too much. Danica realized that the shifters are Fae. Oh, come on! Oh my gosh, come on! Maybe this part needs to be for only the people that have read all of A Court of Thorns and Roses and all of Throne of Glass, because I literally, first of all,
this is your spoiler warning. I will pop back up when I'm done talking about all of Sarah J. Maas's other books, so mute it until you see this outfit again.
The Starborn, you can't convince me that that is not from A Court of Thorns and Roses, okay? Like, you can't convince me. The waypoint that I had a theory of in A Court of Silver Flames, that boulder, being a waypoint between worlds, the rifts, now the Faes being shifters, like in Throne of Glass. Like in Throne of Glass. Oh my god. I'm having a moment.
That's done, and now we're just back to quoting directly from the book.
Not your kind of Fae, of course. Your breed dwelled in a lovely, verdant land, rich with magic. If it's of any interest to you, your Starborn bloodline specifically hailed from a smile isle a few miles from the mainland, and while the mainland had all manners of climes, the isle existed in beautiful, near-permanent twilight. But only a select few in the entirety of your world could shift from their humanoid forms to animal ones. The Midgard shifters were Fae from a different planet. All the Fae in that world shared their form with an animal. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. The Mer descended from them too? An isle of near-permanent twilight.
There's a mild A Court of Mist and Fury spoiler coming.
Remember in A Court of Mist and Fury where she's like, I thought it would always be night here, and he's like, no, we can't just completely change things. Maybe at one point they could.
That's done.
I'm freaking the fuck out. I was right. Two breeds of Fae, both rich in magic. They were ideal food. We couldn't allow them to unify against us, so you turned them against each other, made them two species at odds. So we did a little tugging, pointed Micah toward Synth, toward Danica. Hunt on his knees, Umber Mortis helmet discarded on the stone floor beside him, hands behind his head, bound with Gorshin manacles. But there was nothing Bryce could do, as a freezing stone clamped around her wrists as well, and she found herself face to face with a grinning harpy. This has to be the same stone from... Alright, quickly, I want to say I've been right about a lot of things that maybe a lot of people have been right about, though, so we won't go over it too much. I think that they're going to teleport, but they're going to teleport into one of the lands from the other books. That's my thought. That's my thought. I also originally thought that, like, Selena from Throne of Glass would be, like, somehow teleported into this land, but I don't know. I guessed another thing right, and I noticed my camera's off, so I had to turn it on. Agent Daybreak kept having to get woken up to, like, bang someone, and she says in their last meeting, right before they, like, did it, yes, his wrath is terrible. I've seen what he does to enemies. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. Rune asked, can't you leave him? And she said, no, my fate is bound to his. And I was like, what if it was the Hind and Pollux? Because the Hind was watching when he ran into the Harpy. And she had literally told him, so you do have expectations about me, when he said that he was glad she wasn't the Harpy. And now, right as the Harpy was about to start carving in, Bryce shouted, but all the noise, all the thoughts in Rune's head eddied away as a familiar, lovely scent hit him, as he beheld the female who leapt to her feet, now a wall between him and the Harpy. The Hind. Yeah, because, like, what more of an epic spy could you have but someone in that high of position? A scent that was somehow entwined with his own! I have, like, a very inflated sense of self at the moment, and you can bring me back down to earth and be like, yes, this is all very obvious stuff, Brittany. You are nothing special. As the shifter deflected and parried the angel's strike. So she is Fae. We have just discovered that the shifters are just Faes from a different land. A land where there wasn't always that much magic, but there was always a shift. And just like that, the Harpy's dead. She'd sworn she wouldn't come from when we got into trouble, but here she was. How didn't Mordok notice her scent? She called for the city ship to save her. To save Sophie. These are calling stones, beacons. Yeah, okay. He literally just said Agent Daybreak hadn't needed saving after all. Right. So I hadn't missed anything. You're just a dumb man. Okay, that was aggressive. A dumb male, because he's Fae. You just assume that, you know, a girl needed your saving because she was cut off in the middle of a sentence. There was literally nothing else to imply that she had just been caught, but Rune was like, she just got caught. She's caught. I gotta save her. I've gotta save my damsel in distress. Rune is so stupid. He's literally like mad that she isn't what he expected, and he's like blocking his mind to her. This is exactly what she feared, and you're proving her right. You're being dumb. And now he's going all like alpha male on him because Pollux is like licking Lydia's throat, and Rune's like, oh, she's endured so much. He's being stupid. How could he abhor her and need her, be drawn to her in the same breath? Shut up. She banged against the black steel and stone. Rune locked her out. He's so freaking stupid. It's ridiculous. His ally was his enemy. His enemy was his lover. He focused on the gore splattered on her throat. Good for Bryce for saying it in front of everyone about the whole, you know, parasite thing. Along with the fact that if we destroy that core of first light beneath this palace, silence, Regulus hissed. Oh, it's getting dark in here. Okay, wait, I need to, This all seems very familiar, doesn't it? A starborn queen who allied with the Prince of Hell, who trusted him deeply and ultimately paid the price. Celestina, you mean the archangel who reported to me that you'd lied about going to visit Miss Quinlan's family a few weeks ago, and then reported to me immediately when she saw you leaving the barracks heavily armed? Love is a trap, Celestina had said. No. So we've moved up to the book room, to finish the book. But anyways, they're trying to get back to the original world. Her starborn light is a beacon to this world. Like Rhysand's world. Our love is stronger than time, greater than any distance. Our love spans across stars and worlds. I will find you again, I promise. Is my theory about her potentially going to one of the other worlds actually correct? Even as a small weight dropped into her pocket. The beacon stone. Hunt doesn't have his chains on. Is he about to blast the horn? He is, right? I'm getting hot. Wait. Oh, she just got sucked in, and I just feel like even though she's meaning to go to hell, like the star in her chest wants to go back to the original land they're from, and I feel like she's gonna get pulled there. I mean, it literally says she was screaming into wind and stars and emptiness. Not a plunge down, but a yank across. Okay, I need to check what Luna wants. Okay, I fed Luna, now I'm back. Hell had grass and mist. She was on someone's clipped immaculate lawn. A city, ancient and beautiful, on the other side of a river. I knew it! They're flying, it's Azrael. Stop. They ate bread in hell. Battery died, so I had to grab my other one, but Azrael just carried her. She doesn't know it's Azrael yet. I'm sounding like a mad person. Amren's freaking out over Bryce's like language. Hello, Bryce Quinlan, my name is Rhysand. I'm feeling all sorts of levels of, oh, there's an epilogue. That was that. That was fucking that. So I'm going, just to kind of end this, like I said, this isn't gonna have a recap. There were a lot of theories that I had that were correct. For example, I mean, like the first light one being like my biggest correct theory, and that there was gonna be some kind of teleportation that included the other books in the end. I wasn't like maybe nearly as surprised as if I hadn't had that expectation about her ending up in the Night Court. I'm just like really excited to see what happens in the next A Court of Thorns and Roses book, because I think that's where it's going to continue. I mean, the only things that we can think of is she has a beaconing stone in her pocket to hopefully get contact with Hunt, but we're also kind of having this idea that like time and space are not maybe accurate. I mean, the thing that I'm thinking about is in A Court of Silver Flames, do we all remember that comet that went through the sky? Now, for anyone that's read through the Throne of Glass series, do we remember a similar comet situation? Do we? If not, then you haven't read it far enough yet, sorry. That one was always clear that those were the same event to me. And now we're having this happen, I think, directly after that. There's still so many possibilities for a huge mashup, and I'm kind of curious to see where it goes, because there's just so much to theorize on. And if you guys want a whole theories video, I'd actually kind of be down to do it. I'd be down to reread all of the books again and like really make a huge theories video as to what I think will happen in the next books. But let me know. For now, thanks for watching this video. It is the length of a short feature film, but a very long YouTube video. So, small tidbit, because I totally forgot. So now that she has all this information on what the Fae are and everything like that, she's gonna be able to give this information, ideally, to the inner circle, because, I mean, Amren can be a translator and they're gonna have to learn each other's language eventually. They're gonna probably have to find the dust court and all that stuff, but like, my big key point here is the fact that the inner circle has been fighting for the lesser Fae for a while, and she now has information that they have never been lesser Fae. They've just been genetically mutated, modified. I just this is gonna be such a big shift in the way that the Court of Thorns and Roses books have played out. I'm so excited to see it. I'm so excited to see it. I might just make a theories video whether you want to see it or not one day, but we'll see. It'll take a lot of work. Yeah, that's that, you know? Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.